This is the voice of the Report of the Week, signing on. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week, signing on to YouTube as the international service, and we are now on the air. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're doing well today. I'm doing good. Today I'm doing a lot better. Yesterday wasn't a good day. Just the fact of the matter. I refuse to elaborate too much on it, but the paranoia and the bad thoughts are some of the worst it's been in a while. But I'm better today, and not incapacitated anymore. So I said we'll get to the microphone and get to talking, and all of that good stuff. My goal is to get it up today. Yeah. July 1st, 2016. No. June 24th, 2016. I hope to get it up on. I do. I really do. I hope to get it up today. I'm recording it today. And maybe we'll get in luck and maybe it actually will happen. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm far away from the microphone because I am a little far. I'm just putting on some socks. I'm not going to lie, my feet got a little cold and I forgot to put the socks on before starting, but that's that. Today's broadcast features a few elements. Of course, introductions, discussion of shortwave radio, review of the latest uploads. I also want to tell a little story from my past. And then, of course, we have fan mail, general talk. Dear listeners, I hope you can stay tuned for this broadcast and the contents therein. So, first and foremost, if you're in the UK and you wanted the Brexit to leave, to happen, you want them to leave the EU, you're in luck. You're out of there. Review, bro, what did you support? I am a neutral stance. I just need more information about each side before making a decision, instead of just saying, I support this. Why? I don't know, I just do that. But I was listening to it last night, it was very interesting. I had the BBC World Service on Shortwave going, real good signal too, and they dropped all other news, and they were just talking about that, and they were just had a live discussion. Got to hear good old Nigel giving his speech and everything, and all that. But anyways, I know there's a lot of UK listeners here, so anyways, that's a big day for everyone there. Not the best day for the economy, but that's a whole nother story. I imagine in due time it'll probably settle down. Very unsurprising, or very surprising, I should say. Very surprising. I did not expect the Leave votes to win. Regardless of what side perhaps I would have a tendency to support, did not expect the Leave votes to win. I didn't. I thought it would be maybe at most 60-40 split. Crazy. At least I think it's crazy stuff. Anyways, that's what we got going for you. That's what we got. It's as I said, Friday, 24th of June, 2016. Feeling a bit better today, and that's good news. So we got a little bit to talk about regarding shortwave radio. First and foremost, if you're from Reddit, welcome. Thank you for being with us. I know there's a new little influx of Redditors who have found the channel and are hopefully enjoying the contents therein. The comments, oh my goodness, you should see those comments. I mean, you should, you really should. It's an amusing thing. The amount of people that get PO'd due to the fact that I have my fingernails a certain way is very amusing. It's outstanding in a sense. And something can be outstanding and not necessarily be a good thing. Keep that in mind. Because this is... I don't know, just nuts. Just nuts in my opinion. And, who's to say? I find it incredible. The amount of people that get so offended, so riled up because my fingernails are a certain way. It's such a childish ideology over such a childish thing. Well, his fingernails aren't like mine, so they can't be that way. And that could open up a real can of worms talking about, ideologies, but still just an interesting thing to take note of. I always, despite having some opinions on different things, I'm always respectful to the opposing opinions, and always try to be, try to just manage the situation with as much dignity as one could. I think it's just the right thing to do. But, sometimes some people just act so childish and so idiotic over such silly, menial, juvenile things. It's just surprising. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, Shortwave Radio. VORW was broadcast on Shortwave Radio, believe it or not. We were. If you wanted, I publicized it. I said it in the Planet Wings review. And in the comments there, I made it very clear. And I posted it on the SWL Post, Shortwave News Magazine, as well as the Shortwave Central website and the other forums. So it's there. It was out. The information is out, and there were some listeners. But I broadcast on Shortwave Radio, VORW, on 4 frequencies. I broadcast on 780 to Asia, 7490 to the US, 6070 to Europe, and 6005 kilohertz to Europe as well. And I got some little recordings of it if you wanted to know, well, what do you do in these VORW shows exactly. And I'll show you. I'll play you a little recording perhaps from some of the VORW broadcasts. It was a fun time, I'll tell you that. It was fun. That's our little interval signal. Play that before the broadcast starts. This is the one to Asia.
Go to www.shortwaveservice.com. This is the voice of the report of the week. Signing on.
Reception wasn't incredible in Europe because it was targeting Asia.
This is VORW Radio International, the voice of the report of the week and the external service of the report of the week. Our international shortwave broadcast beams to Asia on 1578.
That's one broadcast. This was let's see what else there was. There's this one on 7490. I played some music there. Then there's one from 6070 kilohertz.
That's the report of the week. And I do hope you enjoyed those 2 lovely numbers which we just played. What I have for you next is an excerpt from a lecture.
But it was all fun. It was all fun. Very fun. And a good deal of reception reports for each. And it was very good. It worked out nice. It was very fun. And as I said, it was very nice. In terms of shortwave itself, in terms of news on the matter, there's some good news and some bad news. Of course, the bad news is that in just 2 days' time, Radio Free Europe is going off the air. They're signing off forever, and broadcasts in Russian to Eastern Europe and Russia. The Caucasus regions are going to be gone forever. Good news is that All India Radio, the major shortwave broadcaster from India, on about 400 frequencies, they were debating leaving the airwaves, but they decided, and you can thank their vice president for this, who's an advocate for shortwave. He was able to convince the president of All India Radio to remain on the air. They just stay on the air, and he said the benefits of shortwave are still there. It still has an audience and applicability, and we should still keep its budget and keep it on the air, and that's what they're going to do. Because All India Radio was going to shut down shortwave. They were going to discontinue it because they said it wasn't relevant anymore, but they were able to be convinced otherwise that it still is, that the infrastructure just isn't quite there yet in some parts, and that shortwave is still necessary for a national and international audience. That's the good news. So what's the bad news exactly then? Well, the bad news on shortwave comes from a country that maybe we've heard of. It's called New Zealand. Of course we've heard of New Zealand. It comes out of New Zealand. The bad news is that they have 2 shortwave transmitters there for Radio New Zealand International. One of which broadcasts in standard AM mode, which any radio receiver can listen to. And the other broadcasts in DRM mode, which is just digital mode that is used in some receivers, but it's not really that popular, but it's a digital shortwave transmission, meaning you can listen to it with a special receiver on shortwave, and it'll give you FM quality signal. Very interesting there. Bad news is that they're going to be shutting down one of the 2 transmitters, so now it's just going to be AM and the DRM digital mode on one frequency, on and off, and you won't be able to listen to Radio New Zealand as much, so they're kind of reducing down their shortwave service a bit, which is a shame to say, as Radio New Zealand International is a good station, and if anything, I just hope it's not that the frequencies that are affected aren't the ones that make it into North America good, like 9,700. That station will take you through the night, Radio New Zealand. It's, at 3 a.m., you're up late, there's just brother stare on the airwaves, if not much else to hear. And then you find Radio New Zealand on, and, gives you something to listen to through the dead hours of the night. So as I said, I hope that lasts a bit. So there's that. Otherwise, in shortwave news, things are fairly quiet. Things are quiet. And there's the VORW broadcast on shortwave, of course. Oh, one thing I forgot, and let's do that right now. NBA draft was last night. And through the hellish day, I was able to sit down and watch the NBA draft, and it was amusing. I watch the NBA draft every year. All right, let's get the picture. But I watch the NBA draft every year on a yearly basis, simply to see what suits they were wearing this year. And it did not disappoint. No, it did not disappoint. Let's get to the pictures. The real high-resolution ones aren't out yet, but this one's 1310 by 873 pixels. That should work. Alright. Well, here's what we got. You can see the picture up now. It's the crowd of all the players there. I discuss their outfits every year. Well, is there any improvement from the circus that it was last year? Hey, there is. There is. The colors are a bit more toned down, except for that guy on the left there, with that silly bright red double-breasted jacket. And some of the jackets are looking better, but that's it. Those are the only 2 good things I can say. The individual in the white shawl lapel jacket, holding the basketball there. His jacket length is looking good. That is a correct jacket length. You can see how it's substantially longer than some of his counterparts. His jacket length is good. Pants, not so much. None of these guys' pants are that good. I prefer a drape fit, a nice drapey fit, which none of these pants actually contain. It's just too tight, in my opinion. If you look towards the left, you'll see an individual there wearing a red three-piece suit with what looks like a cutaway collar, a large necktie, and almost a pocket watch chain. To his left, behind him, you'll see a gentleman wearing a three-piece suit with a pink jacket, and to his right, you'll see a guy wearing a blue jacket who kind of looks like he's dead inside. Three of them were. And there's a few others also going with this trend. There was an interesting trend emerging here, where you see the guys, and if you look, you'll kind of be able to see this, where they're wearing these wide peak lapel jackets. You know, these wide lapel jackets with real, again, slimmer fitting pants. But they're wearing, you know, like sometimes 2 or 3 piece suits with these wide peak lapel jackets. You know, even drapey jackets that I would approve of. These drapey peak lapel jackets, wide lapels on them, and then with tight pants and that look like they're literally going to get blown out at any minute. They're just that tight. And that's what the 3 of those guys are wearing. You can't really see that much, but behind the man wearing the white jacket, you see another man wearing a black suit with a golden colored tie. His suit is the one I approve of most. Pants are still tight, but the cut of them is the loosest of them all. 3-piece suit, nice lapels on the suit as well. His suit is the best of them all, but unfortunately it's the one that's being shown off kind of the least. Interestingly enough, bow ties were dominant. As you can clearly see, everyone loves the bow ties, the hipster bow ties. Everyone's wearing them. Everyone's wearing the bow ties with some double-breasted jackets were seen, a lot of bow ties. Some of the real winners were some of the guys not wearing the socks. You can see that. That's a beautiful trend. You can imagine how those shoes must smell. And if you look on the far right, you'll see a man wearing a dark red jacket with some black thing around his neck of a little, like, silverish bar on that. That's a black bow tie with all these diamond studs in the center at the knot there. Very gaudy. Some of their shoes were were something else too, all these diamond studs in them. And then 2 individuals, interestingly enough, you can kind of see in the center. The one man wearing the the gray jacket with the black peak lapels. He's wearing a little chain around his neck in a formal manner. And then you see on the left also another man wearing a red jacket with a chain around his neck too. Who knows if that's an up-and-coming style or what that is, but that's that. And that's the NBA Draft 2016. I'll tell you this, I hope they stop wearing those red jackets next year. Alright? I do. I mean, I just don't think the red suit, I don't know what it is with red and black, but that's what everyone there was wearing. Well, not everyone, but I just kept seeing one after the next. Red jacket, black shirt, black tie. You know? Or red jacket, black tie. Red jacket, black tie. Red jacket, black shirt. Always the same. I mean, it's good to have someone giving some color to it every now and then, but it's always the same. Red jacket, this and that. Red suit. Skin-tight pants. Always the same. Oh, if it's not that, it's skin-tight pants, black or blue jacket, and a bow tie. You know, so that's the NBA Draft 2016. The best-dressed person there was the commissioner of the NBA. He was wearing a nice single-breasted black suit with real nice wide lapels. It was like a 90s suit he was wearing. Wide lapels and a nice striped tie there. So he was probably the best-dressed of them all. But as I said, the one gentleman who's kind of featured the least, I forget his name, he was the first pick of the draft. his suit was by far the best, and unfortunately, because of that, it gave me a false hope of what was to come, and also seeing only the upper body shots of some of the other guys with their wide lapel jackets made me say, oh, what if the pants kind of went with the jacket, but it didn't. But it is an improvement over last year, at least, and let's hope 2017 will continue to do that. There will be a day at one point when it will be in vogue and in style to wear traditional suits again. Maybe among hipsters, because the slim fit trend will be so much. Now you gotta go the opposite of that, so, I'm just making stuff up. I don't know if it'll ever go that route, but it's very interesting to see. And that's what we got for you there. My thoughts on the NBA Draft 2016 fashion. 20 minutes in. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. Let's continue on now. I have a little story for you. And it should perhaps be of interest, but maybe some of you know I have kind of it's not a moratorium, because a moratorium is something that's temporary. It's something temporary. This is permanent. This is something that I refuse to do. And that is go to the beach. And I figure I'll tell you this story because it is seasonable. It's the real start of the summer season. Let's turn on the air conditioner, should I say. There we go. 78 degrees in here, Fahrenheit. And I want to get it down to 71. I mean, I'm comfortable, but, I don't know. I guess this is how people in the early 1900s were when they wore suits every day. The heat didn't bother them. Heat doesn't bother me. Anyways. So, the fact of the matter is that I have a little story as to why I don't like the beach. And it involves the worst sunburn of my life. Go back about a decade. I was younger. Early teens. Just a youngster. A little youngster. And me and the folks, we're going to go down to Florida for a vacation. It was, going down to Florida. Every kid's dream, even some adults' dream of going down to Florida. I mean, I think Florida has some nice things, such as, Disney. Though the heat is unbearable in nature, as is the sun. And some of the people could be a bit better too. But, that's Florida. But the fact of the matter is that at the time, none of those are my worries. I was just interested in going to Disney. I wanted to go to Disney. Everyone does. Everyone wants to go to Disney. In Orlando. So, we devised a trip. And it was probably some good money spent. We devised a trip. Planned it out good. And said, alright, we're going to take a week off here during July. We'll drive down to Florida, take 95 down. And, have a fun time have a fun time down there. And that should work out good. So, what happened? Well, we went down there. And it was a long drive to get down to Florida. It took... You really can't do it in one day. You can't accomplish it in one day. I mean, theoretically speaking, you probably could if you drove non-stop, but we took a break in, I think North Carolina, and we stopped back down. And we got to Florida. Specifically, we got to St. Augustine, Florida. It's It's a city in northern Florida. But nice, located on the Atlantic Ocean. Beach. Fun. So, alright. We got there. We're going to stay at St. Augustine, Florida for a few days. Do a little touring there, enjoy the water, and then continue down to Orlando where there is the Disney World, or, just Disney. I don't know the etymology of Disney World versus Disneyland. But just go down to Orlando where there's Disney there. And, so far, so good. Get to the hotel. Got a high story. Nice beach, ocean view room. Got a wonderful view of the beach. I'm looking forward to it. You see the beach. You smell the air. It's sunset. Nice and cool. Cooling down. Get a nice little breeze coming in off the water. And I'm looking forward to getting on that beach tomorrow. I'm just daydreaming about it. I'm going to have a lot of fun in the water and play around and just have a good time. So the next day comes. We get up nice and early. We go down to the beach, get the little blanket set up, a little cooler, get the umbrella, a couple of chairs. And then we got a nice little base camp set up there. It's going to be fun. And apply the sunblock. And into the water I go, and it was a fun time for me. I go into the water. I'm having a time of my life. Got a little, little boogie board, a little inner tube kind of thing. I was riding around in the waves, a little board. I was having fun. I was swimming around. It was a great time. Having the time of my life. Come back out of the water, go to apply the sunblock, and I'm looking at myself and I think, is my skin a little redder than it used to be? And I think, no, that's not the case. It's just the water, just rubbing against it, and nothing wrong with that. So we apply more of the sunblock, and back in I go. Several more hours, I get out, and, into the hotel we go. I get dried off, get changed, and then it hits me. Suddenly I feel ill. I feel absolutely and totally ill. Sick to my stomach, I feel like I'm going to die. And that's when you get a good look at my arms, and they are just beet red. My arms, my chest, my neck, my back, even my legs to a degree, beet red. What happened? I mean, it was one heck of a sunburn. By far the worst I've ever gotten in my life. Where, it kind of make you feel sick a bit. I think I call it sun poisoning. What happened? Well, apparently the sunblock was just cheap garbage. It was cheap garbage that was obtained in New York, perhaps for the New York Sun, if at all. And it was just cheap garbage. Didn't work. It just didn't work, folks. And it just probably, as soon as I went into the water, it said it was waterproof, probably just washed right off. That's what I'm willing to wager that it did. Probably just washed right off. And, and that's what we got. So, that's what happened. That's what happened, ladies and gentlemen. Had the worst sunburn of my life. It ruined the trip for at least a few days, but we stayed at Disney for a few weeks. Or not a few weeks, but for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. By the end of it, I was back to enjoying it. We got some new sunblock from that one. What's that company that makes the sunblock? Banana Phone. So we got some some good new, sunblock from Banana Phone. And, oh, no, I'm sorry. Banana Boat, not Banana Phone. Banana Boat. I'm sorry. Banana Boat. Not the song by Raffi. No, Banana Boat sunblock. And that worked. It was this nice spray-on stuff. It was better than the stuff you had to slather upon yourself. And it worked out fine. Oh, no, I forgot. This is where it gets good, ladies and gentlemen, right? We're at Disney. The trip continues. I'm all burnt up, recovering. I wasn't at the peeling stage yet, but, you're recovering. Still, feels extra warm, it's still painful. But anyway, so we're at Disney. And, we can't, we're doing little things. Got the good sunblock on. It's working good. Well, being the little pea-brained youngster that I am, I still think I'm peanut brain. But given the fact that even more so back then, I was looking around at the little toiletries that Disney had provided for us, and I saw that there was one that was called Sunburn Relief Gel. It was supposed to be like a cooling gel that was supposed to help heal the sunburns and relieve them a bit. And I said, alright, let's try this out. Took a little dab of it, and I just rubbed it on my chest a little bit, just on the chest. Nothing was happening. Alright, well, it's the morning, we're getting ready to go. And then it kicks in. But it doesn't make the sunburn feel better. No. It creates an itching sensation. It creates this itching sensation, and it was the worst itch of my life, and I had to scratch it. But the more you scratched it, the itch got just worse. There was the point where the skin was just a deep red in color. I had to just get in the shower, try to wash it all off, and eventually it did die down, but that was another great part of it all. It was just the kind of the last FU, from the sunburn. It didn't work with that anti-sunburn lotion. So that's what we got. And that's my little story from Disney of all that. We're about 33 minutes into this VORW, folks. Now let's just check out the review of the latest uploads, and then onto the mailbag program we go. Last VORW is number 124. June 15th. What is your favorite video series from the Report of the Week on June 15th? Asking what the favorite video series was. The results were expected, VORW being a close second. June 16th, Burger King Double Stacker Food Review. Being, of course, the Double Stacker from Burger King. It had its moments, where I couldn't chew the food. June 17th, Pepsi 1893 Original Cola. Not the greatest. Attire was worn from 1893 to commemorate that. Average Day 2016 Raw Video, June 17th, 2016. Cut your nails review, bro. June 20th, Planet Wings Chicken and Waffle BLT. It was an interesting one. The chicken was actually pretty darn good, though, and I enjoyed it. June 21st, poll results and discussion. Telling you what you already know. June 22nd, Dunkin' Donuts Wildberry Smoothie Drink Review. It was alright, but the seeds inside it were also quite a bit of a nuisance. I didn't really get to cover that, but the seeds inside were a bit of a nuisance. And Burger King Mac and Cheetos Fruit Review. I didn't know they had them, or Cut Your Nails Review, brah. And that's what we got for you. That's the review of the latest uploads here on VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. Now, dear listeners, please wait for the time signal, and from there, we will take you to the fan mail portion of this program. You're listening to VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week, and this is now halfway through the show, not physically speaking, but in terms of the organization of the program, we are now halfway through, because following this is the fan mail portion of the program, where we read and respond to your letters of support, of criticism, of any general comments and statements which are made or will be made. Any questions for me will be answered as well, and of course I'm looking forward to the answers to the question which I posed in the last one regarding cinema and film. What was the last film that you watched? Question for this one is, it's one I think some of us will find interesting, to see what a general audience considers themselves to be. I myself, unless you count YouTube as social media, I don't have any. I don't have any social media. I'm not quite fond of social media sites either. Especially Twitter. I'm not a fan of that one idiot who always posts who listens to the VORWs and makes fun of them. But I don't have any social media except YouTube. But I know a lot of you do. Most everyone at this point in time does, be it Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever other networks are popular nowadays. Here's the question, though, and this is a retrospective one for you to ask upon yourself, and then see what you consider yourself to be. Do you think that you are addicted to social media? Alright? Do you think that you are addicted to social media? Yes or no, or I don't have social media. And if you'd like to elaborate on that as to why you think that you are or aren't addicted to social media, let me know. I'm part of the rare group that says I don't have social media. I don't even own a smartphone. I don't have a smartphone. I don't have social media. None of that. But the fact of the matter is, do you think that you are addicted to social media? Yes or no, or anything in between? Who can say? But that is for you to decide. If you'd like to submit your answer, ladies and gentlemen, and if you even want to say, well, here's what I think defines an addiction, and I think otherwise, that's fine. It's fine, too. Any answers are valid. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to write to us, you have 2, or actually 3 means of doing so. First and foremost, you can write to us via the YouTube inbox. Go to the channel, youtube.com/user/report of the week. Click on the About tab, send message, and type the contents of your message in there and send it off. Likewise, ladies and gentlemen, you can email us, repweekinterview1@gmail.com. That's repweekinterview1, the number 1@gmail.com. Or write to us also at vorwinfo@gmail.com. That's vorwinfo@gmail.com. And I had one heck of a time trying to figure out what we even got going in terms of, in terms of these messages here. It was tough. So, anyways, I couldn't find out where we left off, so we're going to start here, and if I missed you, please let me know. I might have missed like 2 people. If that's the case, again, inform me as to so. Hello, Review Brother, back with more questions for you. And that was a nice midweek VORW, by the way. To start off with somewhat of a quick question/request, could you give a rating using the Report of the Week 1 to 10 rating scale of how your day was today? Well, today so far, it's probably 6 out of 10 day, better than yesterday. Yesterday was probably more of a 2 out of 10. Today's a 6 out of 10, 6 out of 10 day. using the Report of the Week rating scale. Hoping that tomorrow will be a nice 8 to 9 out of 10 day. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping Saturday will be a nice day. You know? I am. That's my rating for the day of the VORW, or the Report of the Week rating scale. Do you have any favorite board games? Monopoly's a nice game. Monopoly's a nice game. It's always fun. Do you have a favorite type of bird? Birds, I just like birds in general. Though, blue jays are always nice. I always like blue jays. Blue jays are always fun. Cardinals, too, they're nice little yard birds. And mourning doves can be kind of cute. Not counting recording night walks, do you ever talk to yourself aloud when alone? I do. Sometimes it just helps organize your thoughts or what have you. Did you dress up for Halloween as a child? What did you dress up as? I used to always go as a skeleton. I used to always be a skeleton, yes. Spooky, scary skeleton as a young thing. That was my go-to Halloween attire, as always a skeleton. Have you ever ridden a horse? I have not. I've never gotten on the back of a horse and done that. Do you sleep on your back, your sides, your stomach, or some combination of those? I usually sleep on my sides. One to the next. Usually I rarely sleep on my back. Sometimes I'll wake up finding myself as so. But most of the time I'm always on my side. That's how I'm most comfortable. And that's just the one position I can get to sleep in. Thank you for the questions, and thank you for writing. Hello, Review Bra. Quick question. What is your ideal meal? Since you are a food reviewer, you have reviewed many crappy foods and many great foods. Which meal is your ideal favorite meal? And almost like, what would your last meal be? Thanks, yours sincerely, from Grayson. Well, thank you for writing, Grayson. And in terms of my favorite meal... You know, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if this is a favorite, but this is up there. It was from Pizza Hut. The Pizza Hut Cheesy Bites Pizza. That thing is... I just dream of a day when that thing will be back on the menu for good. Because that thing is delicious. The Cheesy Bites Pizza from Pizza Hut. That is my favorite right there. That is an all-time fave, as they say. But wow. Yeah, that was good. That was a good one. Thank you for writing. I've been in a rough spot for a while in my life, and then I discovered you on Reddit. Your videos helped cheer me up, and I'm starting to feel better about myself. Something about your attitude in every video that gives of confidence, and I've taken some notes too on how to have such a dominant voice in public like you have in your videos to keep on making reviews. I love them. Well, thank you for writing, and of course I shall continue making the VORWs, the reviews, and any other videos that I've got. That's not going to stop anytime soon, not to worry. Dear John, I'm a new viewer who found your channel through Reddit. Your unique style resonated with me and I got addicted to your content immediately. From the videos that I've had the chance to watch, the VORWs have become my favorites, as I like to listen to you discuss other topics besides fast food and energy drinks. Don't get me wrong, I love those things as much as the next person. I just prefer VORWs over the reviews. The last movie I saw was The Quiet Ones, a horror movie with some paranormal themes. I didn't enjoy it as much, as it wasn't all that creative, or even scary, but it did pass the time. Thank you for making your videos. I do enjoy watching from Maria. Well, thank you for writing. And The Quiet Ones, it's called. Quiet Ones. Let's see. Quiet Ones, 2014 film. Yeah, it's in, the one thing I always find with a lot of horror films today is a lot of the horror films are all the same. I mean, there's only so much you can do. before it becomes ridiculous, you know? And a lot of the plots are already taken, so you just got to make it to adaptations, and then you got to start making the remakes, you know? But I think it's a genre that's really hard to do well in nowadays. I think so. You know, there's only a limited number of plots, theoretically. Hi, Review Bro. I'm sure you've been asking this question before and may have already answered in a VORW. What do you use to shave? Maybe it's just the 480p quality. Kidding. But you have a very nice complexion. Sincerely, a fan. Well, thank you for writing. I use a fork. You know, I kind of grind the little points of the fork on a block. I kind of sit there for a few hours, you know, set the shortwave next to me. I just get this fork. I just grind the points, you know, against this block until they get real sharp, okay? And I'll do it at a little angle, too. It's like a standard kitchen fork. I actually got it right here. You know, got the standard little points. And it's like it's just a regular kitchen fork. But I grind it against this metal, not this metal block, it's like a concrete block for a few hours every day. You know, I usually listen to China Radio International while I do that. I do it at a little angle so that the points become, you know, sharpened. It's like at an angle, they're little jagged points. And I like to then take the fork, I just slide it down my face at a little, it's at that perfect angle. I've measured the angle, and it's at a perfect angle where you slide the fork down your face, and it gives you the cleanest, closest shave one can ever dream of achieving. So it's a fork. I use a fork that I manually grind down for a few hours every day, and that's what I use to shave. Just kidding, I use a facial trimmer. You know, standard of that. Hello again. I've not written in some time because I keep falling behind on VORW episodes by a considerable amount of time, and I've just caught up. The last film I saw was Zookeeper with Kevin James, and I thoroughly regret the experience. Me and a friend of mine often meet up and watch the worst comedies we can find, presumably while consuming copious amounts of alcohol. Sometimes the movies are bad enough to get some laughs at the failed attempts of comedy. Often they're just uninteresting and boring. This is definitely the latter, but my friend forced me to sit through it. Also, to answer a previous VORW's question, my favorite color is purple. Not only is it a royal color, which historically used to signify value, nobility, and importance, most famously in ancient Rome, but it comes in many pleasant shades which appeal to me aesthetically. Black and certain shades of gray are also good formal colors which work very well when used in clothing. Thank you for writing, and I think that's an interesting little message there. That he wrote about him and his friend, what you guys do. I think that's quite funny to, just completely get drunk and just watch some of the worst movies you can. Kind of reminds me a little bit, if you've ever heard of, imagine everyone nowadays heard of it. Used to be back in the 2000s, this, obscure thing. But now all the young people like it. Mystery Science Theater 3000, MST3K. Everyone likes that now. But, that's kind of similar to what you guys do, They sit there and they find these old movies that were just utter garbage, and they watch them and make fun of them, and it's always amusing. I used to be a fan of that about a couple years ago. It was always funny, though. Always provided the laughs. Hello. Just let me first thank you so much for the reading of If by Rudyard Kipling. You did a wonderful job. And I'm really looking forward to you doing some of our original work in the not-too-distant future as well. In reference to the last movie I watched, I'll admit that I had to look up my history on Netflix and find out, as I'm not really a movie watcher. And I was somewhat horrified to discover that it was the animated movie Home with Jim Parsons. In my own defense, it was in April and I had the flu and I wanted something light and fluffy to occupy myself when I couldn't sleep. If only you had asked about favorite movies. Oh well, c'est la vie. I was really pleased when you mentioned Ready Player One as a recommendation, because I had thought about getting it, even though it was for young adults, so I prefer audiobooks. It will be my next download. Which leads to the question whether you indulge in audiobooks. Somehow I picture you with an actual book and a slightly gloomy study, caught up in the world within the bindings, perhaps a few VB76 in the background. And all the best from Jackie. Well, thank you for writing, Jackie. No, I'm not a fan of audiobooks. I prefer the actual books here. I got a book. I might have mentioned this in the last one. I'm going to be working on this one soon, but I want to read the book House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski. I want to read that book. It's, I don't know how many pages long it is. I think it's, let me see how many pages long House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski is. It's a 700-page book, but it can be accomplishable. They really have some fun with the typefaces in that book, I've heard, though. But anyway, so it's around 700 pages of literature, but I hope to enjoy it. I've heard good things about it. I've been recommended that book before, so I hope it'll be a good one at least. I do want to get into reading more, and I think that'll be a good book to kind of start off with. But no, I prefer the traditional books, not audio books or books on tape. Hello, Review Bro. I know this message probably isn't normal, nor do I know if you will see it. I just wanted to let you know that I enjoy your content, and if you were to stop, it would be a disservice to YouTube. I recently watched your VORW show 119. I'm a new fan, so I was not around. When this came out. I noticed after watching that, and your 2016 day review, how much hate you get and how it impacts you. While haters will always be around, I do want you to know that your following is bigger than you think, and your fans will always have your back. No other food reviewer brings the style or originality that you do, while still giving a better review than all of them. I know this message is a little weird, but I wanted to congratulate you on your recent 60K sub mark, and send you a nice note among the haters. Well, thank you very much for writing, my friend. And always nice to know that, at least there's someone, some fans out there who do support, not just, unironically or just ironically watching and just making fun of me. That's nice to know. I know there's more than I think, I figure. Hello, Report of the Week, Review Bra, or whatever you prefer to be called. I just wanted to let you know I think your channel is a great thing. It has given me tons of laughs and smiles, and I end up watching and listening to your VORW videos for hours, one after the other. You are for sure one of my favorite YouTubers, and I would have never thought that watching fast food reviews would become one of my hobbies, but you managed to do it. Please never be too hard on yourself when it comes to trolls or critics. I think you do a fantastic thing, and I'd hate for you to be sad because of some people. As a follow-up to the other message you sent me two in succession, to my other message, I actually did not mean to send it that fast. What I was going to ask you is, what is your favorite video you have made, and why? I really enjoy your Shortwave videos, and it gave me an interest in the hobby. One last thing, can you give me a shout-out to Christian S. in Phoenix, Arizona? Thank you a lot, Report of the Week, and keep up the good work, from Christian S. Well, thank you for writing. Thank you for those lovely messages. And certainly, I'd like to give a very formal and official Report of the Week shout-out to Christian S. in Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix, Arizona. Christian S., you have been shouted out. Now, my favorite video I have made. I've got a lot now. I've got, 600 and some to choose from. But everyone's got a favorite. Everyone does. I think one of my favorites that I've made is the water review. It was the Great Value spring water versus the Great Value purified drinking water review, and I think that was one of my favorite moments of the channel. I was in a happy place. I was in a happy place, doing good, and it was just a real fun review. I was able to just kind of get 2 jugs of water there, and just have a real fun time and a good time and a couple of good laughs out of it while trying to review this water like it was an actual product. And that was probably my favorite video. It was just a very fun one to do, and it was just a wonderful experience making it. So that was probably my favorite there. That's what I would probably say. On to the next one. Let's see what we got going on here. Review brought I Have a Problem. I rate this partially just to talk about, but also asking for advice. I am an American high school student, and right now it is in the middle of summer. My next year is senior year. After that, I plan on going to university. Due to my situations in life, I'm not too worried about getting into college, and furthermore paying for it. The one thing that scares me, at least, the thing making me hesitate, that's why I'm writing this right now. Ever since I was young, I've felt out of place in America. For years I've tried to fit in. I don't want to be melodramatic, but most of my life up to this point has been plagued by alienation, depression, and above all, fear. Fear for myself, for those that I love, and most of all, fear for any future within this country. A year ago, I finally gave up on any future here. My entire life is here, and normally that would be the reason to stay, but for me, it's why I must leave. If this is my entire life, then there is nothing here for me. So, wanting to get as far away as possible, I resolved that one day. After I get through things as they are, I will move to Japan. That same day, I began to study Japanese. A month later, I began making Japanese friends on the internet, and it's because of one of those friends I'm in this situation now. So I meet all of these Japanese friends, however one in particular stands out. Despite my broken Japanese and her even worse English, we immediately got along great. After a while, we start sending letters back and forth, and after some time, maybe as expected, we both develop feelings for each other. In a month, me and her will have known each other for a year, next June. So after 2 years, I'm going to meet her for the first time. I'll be staying in Japan for a month with a friend, and it's not the prospect of meeting her that scares me, it's the decision I will have to make afterwards. I'm glad I'm in high school, or else this decision will be much harder. I'm debating whether I should even bother going to college in America or just move to Japan after high school. Of course, it wouldn't be just for her. I've been preparing to do this for some time. After that's left for me to do it. My Japanese is at a conversational level, and I have a high school degree. There's nothing here for me anyways. Add on to that the fact that I have so many friends there, and a girl that, I don't know, I might be in love with. It's tough to say no. It would be the biggest risk I've ever taken, by far. My entire life up to this point has revolved around going to college and getting a degree, but that's not what I want, and I have a chance to change that. If I leave, more than likely my father will disown me, and the rest of my family probably won't speak to me for some time, and that is not an exaggeration, I can promise you. But I don't want to be in a long-term relationship for 5 years. Every day I'm here, I can feel it. It's killing me. It's killing me because not only am I here, but I'm not there. And I don't know. As I write this, it's almost 2 in the morning. I apologize if it sounds awkward or out of place, I guess. What do you think I should do? Take the risk or just wait it out? Thanks again. Well, thank you for writing, and thank you for your inquiry. You know, you gotta, here's the problem. You know, Japan is, it would be changing your life, as you said, probably irrevocably. It would be there's no turning back. Once you do it, you're past the point of no return. You're stuck with that decision that you make. And I can see where you can see the pluses and minuses of each. Now, I'm not you, and I don't know your situation inside and out, but I'll give you some thoughts and some questions to ask yourself on each matter. Number one, in regards of Japan, because the safest choice is to stay here. By far, it's the safe route. That's the safest choice you can possibly make. You know what's ahead of you. It'll be college and then, a career, presumably. I mean, theoretically, you could, get some college, drop out and then go to Japan, theoretically speaking. But you got to ask yourself this. You know that staying here is the safe choice. It's the safe route to go. So ask yourself this. If I go to Japan, what is my life over there going to be? What am I going to do in Japan? What am I going to do there? What job am I going to get? What education will I get there? How will I make money? And what will I do should things go wrong? I mean, ask yourself those awful questions. What's going to happen if, say, something happens in this relationship and it doesn't work out? And what happens if people give you a hard time there? There's a lot of risks, and you got to really set yourself up in that case for a good fallback. Even if it's in Japan, you got to have a good fallback. You got to say, if things don't go wrong, I'll do this instead. If I don't get this job, I'll do this. If my education, doesn't work out, I'll do this. And you gotta put lots of planning into this. Okay, I'm talking. You need to literally put a serious effort into it. Give it your all. If you want to make this choice, you got to prepare for every situation. I mean, once you're an adult, you can do whatever you want to do. But not having that fallback at home will also be an issue, because if everything goes wrong and comes crashing down, and all you got left is your family, and they're not on your side anymore, then what? So you really gotta be really cautious over there. You want to have fun, you want to be happy, but you also want to be somewhat successful and at least have enough money to pay the bills and buy that food in Japan. You also have to learn about applying for citizenship, and what have you, and going over there. And you got to have all those decisions planned out. You got to have a plan for that. You can't just say, I'm going to go over there, I'm going to be with her, and we'll just work it out. You got to have a plan for all of that. You got to say, well, we'll work with this. I'll find that to help, pay those bills and get that money and do all that. And you got to have a plan to do that. If you don't, either plan more or unfortunately stay here. Because the last thing I want to see happen to you is to end up being homeless on the street in Japan and end up dying there with absolutely nothing. Rather, I'd want to see you, if you do make that decision, to at least be there and be happy and successful to a degree and enjoy life and do what you want to do. Alright? But you have to ask yourself that series of questions. You got to plan inside and out. You got to get all these scenarios. What if? Don't just brush these off and say, it's just my mind racing. You got to say, when you think, well, what if this happens? All right, I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll talk to this person. I'll get that job. I'll apply for, etc., and get this done with. And if you can't do that, then just consider staying, going to university, and playing it safe. Because it's a major decision that will affect your life and change your life beyond anything that's ever been done before. And you really, really, really have to plan for it. And, who knows? It might work out. But assuming you have that adequate planning, that is the key thing. All right? You got to plan it out. You got to communicate. And, it could happen. But you just gotta, as I said, communicate and plan. You can't just inadvertently jump into it and expect it to go your way. Because sometimes life, it likes to screw with you. It likes to throw you curveballs you didn't even see coming, and you got to be prepared for everything that comes your way. It's a shame, it's unfortunate, but it's what we got to do. I hope that somewhat helped, and, well, on to the next. VORW 124 fan mail. Dear Viewer, I hope you are doing well, and that your pizzas always stay warm. I myself am doing okay. I've started going for night walks as you recommend to people, and I'm really enjoying my walks. The cool night air and the silent roads at night are very relaxing and calming, and you may have very well started a new pattern in my daily routine, and I'm very grateful for that. In your recent episode, you talked about the viewing habits of your show, and as a listener of it, I'd like to share some feedback. I personally usually listen to your show in segments throughout the week, so I'll listen to half an hour of the show one day and follow up another day. At the end of the week when I finish the episode and hopefully write in to you in time. That is why I think it's good that you leave a few days in between episodes to allow folks to write in and listen to the show and respond to the respond to the question. Now, in response to this week's question of what was the last film you saw, my answer is Mad Max Road Fury, or Fury Road. It was a well-made film, but a bit too action-packed for my taste. Years ago, I used to like on movies, A-list Hollywood films as well as B-list films. I used to watch 9 to 12 films a week back in the day. However, in the past 4 years, I barely watch anything. I only watch movies with my mother nowadays, just as a hobby we share. The majority of my entertainment these days comes from radio, listening, books, and YouTube. I was wondering if I could ask a question on your show. If you don't have the time for it, I understand, but how do you imagine your life would be like right now at this very moment if you'd never made this channel? Anyway, I'll be off now. Send you my best wishes and hope you have a wonderful week. Well, thank you for writing, and thank you for your reception report also. This is a shortwave listener, and thank you for the reception report. Great to see that you were listening to VORW on the airwaves. How would my life be right now, at this very moment, if I did not have a YouTube channel? Well, I think if I didn't have this YouTube channel, I would be a lot more immature. I just think that's the case. I think that's just how it would be. But I think I'd be a lot more immature than I am now. I'd just be, I'd have very little insight on different things, and I think I'd still have some of the same problems that I deal with right now, but I think I would just be, I'd be a nobody, No one would know me. I'd just be a lot less mature. I could say that confidently, so. I wouldn't really know about shortwave, I don't think. Might have different hobbies, different tastes, and I'd be a completely different person with a different mindset. And I'm very thankful that that's not me. I am. On to the next. Have you reviewed Moxie? My father tried Moxie once, and after a few sips, he poured the rest down the sink. Interested in seeing if you fare a bit better with it. Moxie, is that what it's called? Moxie. Moxie beverages. It's like a carbonated drink, it looks like. There's their website. A lot of people doing calisthenics. What is Moxie exactly? Is that an energy drink? Let's see their history here. Well, it's been around since the 1800s. Well, if I find it, I'll do a review of it. Why not, I can find it. Folks, if I can. Hey man, I'd like to help you out with your video editing. What software do you use? I don't use any software. I don't edit the videos, but thank you for the offer. Hey man, just wanted to start off by saying I love your videos. They are entertaining and they are really well made. I love the whole concept. I just read recently that you suffer from depression and anxiety. I do too. Has it been getting any better for you? I know when I focus my energy on positive things, it helps a lot. So does exercise, and sorry if I'm rambling. I just wanted to know that my favorite YouTuber is doing alright. If you're not, it really does get better. No BS. If you feel like you need to talk, just contact me. Have a good one. Well, thank you for writing. And it's, it fluctuates. As I said, yesterday was a bad, horrible day in terms of that. But you try to distract yourself. That's what you can do now. That's all you can do. Your mind can sometimes be a prison, and you just got to distract yourself any way you can. Just try to stop thinking. I just sat down and watched the NBA draft. I was just trying to focus on that, and just tried not to think about anything else. And it's a shame. I don't like not thinking, but sometimes it's the only way you can escape this. It's the only thing you can do sometimes when you get these, these days. Mr. Review Bra, please review CPAC products. Never tried, but people said they are different, or decent. Butterfly shrimp is a start. Found in the case by Fresh Fish. CPAC, it's called. CPAC. SEAPAC. Wants me to review CPAC products. Oh, I see what they are. I guess they're like supermarket frozen food. Could be. Alright, well, we'll see. We'll see. Might get it taken care of if I find it, and if it's a slow week and got nothing else to do, I can probably squeeze a review for the CPAC in there. Let's see what we got next. Dear Review Brother, thank you for the tips about traveling into Boston/New England. I really enjoyed my time there, and although it isn't exactly Review Bra land, you live in a really beautiful and interesting part of the world. I was inspired by my trip to Freedom Land and all the historical sites, and created a VORW title card from a photo I took at the historic Minuteman Park in Concord. Yep, oh yeah, there it is. I like it. I was actually there. I was at that exact same statue that you were back in 2013. So if you want to say I was in a place where Review Bra was, you can say that. I was at that exact same statue a few years ago and got my picture taken there. One of my favorite carbonated beverages is a Mexican soda called Jarritos. To make it, to me, it is the perfect balance of sweet and refreshing soda without the thick, syrupy texture of sodas like Coke. And the last film I watched was John Carpenter's 1981 film Escape from New York. Overall, it was pretty enjoyable and an interesting premise, but I found it hard to take seriously at times, which I hope was the director's intent. They Live and The Thing are still my favorites by Carpenter, and the ones I recommend others to check out. Lastly, a random question. If you could add, alter, or remove one U.S. law or amendment to the Constitution, what would it be? All the best from Adam. Well, thank you for writing, Adam. The Constitution as it is fine. The amendments speak for themselves, and that's that. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. Alright, we'll move on to the next. By the way, on Shortwave, I forgot to mention it. Radio Sultanate of Oman, their English service is going overtime today. It's been going 5 hours over the scheduled limit, and it's fun to listen to. I'm recording it while I'm making this VORW show, so I can listen to it later, but their English service reminds me a lot of Radio Kuwait, which I talk about, It's a very contemporary English service with a lot of music. You can see they're playing just contemporary music. some CeeLo Green. But they got that going, and they're just playing some good Western music, and they've been doing that for hours. And it just reminds me of the good old days when I used to listen to Radio Kuwait. I know this is an error. I know they just forgot to put in the Arabic feed at the transmitter site, but I can dream that this was intentional. You know, I know it's just an error. But maybe one day they will increase the length of their English service intentionally, and like this, and keep the feed going. It's fun. It's fun to listen to the good music like that on shortwave, and hear the announcers and the news and the Islamic teaching programs, and learn a little something about Oman with some good Western music interspersed, and just really reminds me of the good old days when I used to listen to Radio Kuwait every day, and it brings me back, and it's great to hear that there's at least one last station left that still plays music. There used to be more, like Radio Oman. There used to be Radio Kuwait, which played music, a lot of good Western music. There used to be Radio Saudi Arabia, which once played some Western music on their English service. There used to be, let's see what else we got here. In Yemen, you know, there used to be, I forget what that was called. I think it was just Radio Sana in English. They used to play a lot of Western music too. Radio Sultanate of Oman, of course, plays Western music. There used to be Radio Jordan that used to play Western music. And then there's Radio Bahrain, which still does, but they don't have an English service. So, I mean, there's out of all of them now, there's just Radio Bahrain, which plays English music. They do, but it's not audible all that long. And now there's this Radio Sultanate of Oman, which plays that music. Saudi Arabia cut the English service. Radio Jordan was concluded, went off the air. Radio Kuwait mysteriously went off the air, and Radio Yemen was actually literally destroyed from, the transmitters were blown up by the rebels, so they couldn't get back on the air. That's the story of music on shortwave, and its current state. Very interesting, though. It's still going, though, you know. Still going. Radio Sultanate of Oman. Some good music there. And I've got a recording going. It'll be continuing, and hope it's alright. Hello, John. I apologize for not writing in the past 2 VORWs, as I've been catching up to them. To answer your question asked, the last movie I watched was The Shining. The Shining is one of my favorite movies, but it's almost never on, only around Halloween, so it surprised me that it was airing. Now I have a question for you. Do you see yourself as an optimist, pessimist, or a realist? And whichever one you see yourself as, why is it so? All the best from yet another writer named Nick. Also, I apologize, but I'll be on vacation for the next 3 weeks with little access to the internet, so I might not be able to write in for however many VORWs you upload in 3 weeks. So thank you for writing, Nick. And The Shining is a good movie, a very good one, and great that you saw it again. As I said, a wonderful movie there. Do I see myself as an optimist, a pessimist, or a realist? You know, my mind always, it goes back and forth between optimism and pessimism. I mean, sometimes when I get real down, I'm completely a pessimist. Otherwise, I try to see things optimistically and make the best of them, because I think that does correlate to how you really do manage a situation. I try to be an optimist, but sometimes I end up being a pessimist in some cases. So thank you for writing, Nick. My dear review bra. Well, they tried to tar you with the salty milk brush, but I fixed them. Oh, how they pulsate with their insipid ignorance, they who deny your divinity. They are all the children of the maggot. They are the meatus, the fat, sickening membrane that surrounds and uglifies the tube from which all life begins. I have a lot of catching up to do. You've been so busy. Where will I find the time? I will not bore you with the detailed accounts of my midnight wanderings. It seems vulgar, and who would want to poot and pollute your airtime with such hashisha dealings? God, I've missed you. I've been away, busy. You know what I mean, even if you do not wish to believe. My God, The stench of seaweed will never escape my pores. To the larvae who listen in, here are my demands. Number 1, surrender the flatfoots. Get out. You should be strapped down and feel the echo of the singe. 2, love your bra. He is nectar. He knows not of war. And 3, make my noggin stock a floggin, loving yours, Orca Man. Yes, I am back. Rap. Well, thank you, Orca Man. He was very standard of him, as wonderful as always, and great to have you back. You were a cornerstone back in 2014, back in those glory days, and it's great to have you back with us. You were you were something else, all right. It was oh my goodness. Orca Man, good to have you back, my friend. On to the next. And yes, his commands I approve of. What movie did I watch last? This person writes, well, let's just say there were a lot of explicit film works online, and the one I watched last was rather vulgar. It was a compilation piece of a favorite performer of mine called Nina Hartley. The last movie I saw was Burying the Ex, starring the late Anton Yelchin. If you don't know, he was crushed by his own car on the 19th. In this movie, his girlfriend came back from the dead, and he has to avoid her amorous advances as her body decays bit by bit. Pretty funny, less sticky than the Nina Hartley one. Yeah. Yeah, I looked up that person, and, well, you're being honest, alright? You're being honest. Yeah, boy, my God. Those films are explicit, alright. That was the correct word for that. And that concludes any messages on YouTube. Now let's move over to repweekinterview1@gmail.com. That's REPWEKINTRVIEW1, the number 1 @gmail.com. I just want to begin by saying I love your videos, especially the VORW series, and I've been a faithful viewer ever since I discovered you on 4chan. Even though there was a massive wave of trolls that popped up recently from God knows where, there are still plenty of loyal fans to your channel. Thank you for your hard work and dedication to providing us with content, even though things haven't been so kind lately. Well, thank you for writing. Thank you for your comments. Greetings, Review Comper. I must humbly swallow my cinematic pride and admit that the only film I've seen this year is the latest Captain America installment. I, like yourself, am not an avid cinephile. Now, I must admit that the comic book superhero movies are hardly the height of what film has to offer, with their generic storylines, unimaginable plots. But in this case, nostalgia and emotion triumphed over all other facets of my decision-making ability. See, when I was much younger, I was a great fan of Marvel Comics, though unfortunately for myself, I had no friends to speak of this medium. So for the recent boom in superhero-related films, I was astonished to see these characters, of which only I seemed to know as a child, become so mainstream and successful. I apologize for the length and dullness of this correspondence, but I felt it was my duty as a loyal VORW listener to contribute in every way I am able to towards the show and yourself. Regards from Australia. And P.S. on a related note, the only method in which I can view newly released films is at my local drive-in theater. This is due to the extreme amount of anxiety that hounds me within these unusual, large, and noisy cinemas, and I was wondering if you have anecdotes or experiences you can share about your experiences at the cinema. Oh, thank you for writing. And it can be difficult going to the movie theater, and what I always try to do is I try to get there early, and I try to sit in the back. I haven't gone that often either. That's what I try to do. I try to go there early, and I try to sit in the back, so that when everyone's, instead of having to walk into the crowded theater and see everyone staring at you, you get up there, you'll just be kind of blended into the shadows in the back there. No one will even realize you're there, and that's the best way to do it. Kind of just isolate yourself all the way in the back. You know, that's what I recommend at least. Hey, Review Bro. I've been listening to your many VORW shows for a few weeks now. Really enjoy the show. They're really relaxing to listen to while working or driving, and definitely enjoy hearing your well-thought-out opinions on many things. From what you said last show, you're getting fewer and fewer questions and emails, so this is why I finally decided to chime in. So, Review Bro, I have questions for you. What kind of cars do you like? Do you enjoy a particular brand, style, or era of vehicle design? Thanks, and keep the show going. Well, thank you very much for writing. And in terms of the question that you asked me, in terms of cars, I prefer classic cars. Of course, the 50s cars, the real gas guzzling, they're almost like tanks, they were so sturdy and heavy. But they're very aesthetically pleasing and pretty cars. I also like some of those nice long 60s and 70s sedans. Those are real. Even though you might say they're a bit boxy looking, I still like how they look, and I think they're very, very, very nice cars. So I'm always a fan of the older classic cars, but of course they're very expensive in good condition. You can probably get one that's just pretty much scrap metal, cheap, but for the most part they're very expensive if they are in good condition. Hello, Review Bro. The last film I watched was The Truman Show, and if you haven't heard of it or seen it, it's a comedy drama starring Jim Carrey, which came out in 1998. Yeah, I heard about the Truman Show. I never saw it, but I read about it. It's about a man whose entire life is broadcast 24/7. As a reality TV show, his life is broadcast 24/7. Jim Carrey often plays goofy, over-the-top, and stupid characters, but in this film, he was much more subtle, which is great. I thought the film was great and very interesting, and you could probably analyze it a bit. When it comes to themes and symbolism, I'd recommend it. Also, your previous question, my favorite fizzy drink is good old-fashioned Coca-Cola. Now, Review Bro, here's something different. You're somewhat of a suit expert, and I only own one suit. I got it for prom and for any future formal events. Would you please rate my suit, review it, and tell me what sort of suit is it? I don't know anything about suits, and I want to know if this is Review Bro approved or if it's a filthy modern abomination. Here's a couple of pictures of me wearing the suit a year ago. According to my friends, I looked like I looked like you when I was eating at a buffet at prom because of my suit. Take care, homie, from Josh. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Josh, for writing. Yeah, it's a modern suit. You can tell by the jacket length, it is a little short. Jacket length is a little short, the lapels are a bit thinner, but it is a three-piece suit, and it's a bit better than some of the other modern suits. The pants aren't as drapey, they're a little more tapered there, but it's a modern suit, but at least it's not too far gone. It's not a full-blown slim-fit suit there. So it's okay, it works out. It's a modern suit, but it's not a bad modern suit. Hello, glad you enjoyed my short story and got a chuckle or two out of it, and thank you for reading all of it. To answer a listener question, I recently saw the film The Graduate from 1967. If you're ever into one of your rare film-watching moods, I would highly recommend it to you. I think you would appreciate it greatly. Only one question for this message. Just curious if you know if a 2016 average day video is to be anticipated in the coming weeks. And just a heads up, I saw your Peppermint Ho Ho review was posted on Deep into YouTube a few hours ago, so expect some newcomers. Yep, and newcomers there were. And the 2016 average day video has, of course, been posted and is up and about as we speak. Thank you for writing. How's it going, Review Bro? To answer the previous VORW question, the last movie I've seen was The Conjuring 2. I'm a fan of the horror genre, and I'm always looking for a good scary movie to watch or story to read. A few VORWs ago, you were talking about creepypastas, and a fan recommended that you check out M.R. James for horror stories. I'd like to suggest to you another author as well. I'm not sure if you've heard of him, but his name is H.P. Lovecraft. I started reading his work earlier this year, and I hope you have enjoyed it. Take care from E.V. Well, thank you for writing E.V. And yeah, H.P. Lovecraft, I've heard of him. He's great writer, and some people have said I bear a resemblance to him in some ways. But nonetheless, it's, I think it's a... I've heard about The Conjuring, actually, believe it or not. I've heard it's very scary, in a sense, and, it's... I don't know how good The Conjuring 2 compares, but I've heard The Conjuring was actually a scary movie, so who's to say again if it actually is a scary movie. But I hope it was good. I hope, your money was well spent, and I hope it worked out good. I'm just going to check something out with Radio Sultanate of Oman real quick. Oh, no, they're just playing music. Okay, No, it's fine. They're just playing some U2, with or without you. Greetings, VORW. Optilouise here once more, hoping that this email finds you well. I must admit that it's a strange feeling to hear my message be publicly announced on the VORW show, as I'm usually shy in dealing with this sort of thing. Nevertheless, I believe it's good to sometimes leave our comfort zones, be they virtual or otherwise, so I'm writing once again to thank you on your behalf for the Epic Club blog, for the shout-out, and to answer the last program's question. Before I comment on the latest film I've seen, I'd like to mention that I've saved the internet story you mentioned in my browser bookmarks and intend to read it on my next free night. I'm a fan of creepypastas and obscure internet literature in general, and I believe that mainstream media would benefit greatly from looking for inspiration in the darkest regions of the web. While we're on the subject, I'd like to know if you've heard of Adam Butcher's infamous YouTube video Internet Story. It's one of my favorite early internet-themed tales. It deals with the good old days of YouTube in a grim manner and as an inspiration for my own work. Knowing that you're a connoisseur of nostalgic things, I think you might appreciate the video as it carries the early 2000s vibe that I know of and dearly miss. I'll link it for you right here, and it's called Internet Story, official video. I've never heard of it before, but it might be, it's about 9 minutes in length, but it might be good. It might be fun to watch and digest, so who's to say? I might have to give it a good watch and see what that's all about. Now, the last film I've seen its entirety was Warcraft, which I decided to view on promotional day here in Brazil, where I paid half the usual price for a ticket. I'm a fan of the movie's director, Duncan Jones, son of the late David Bowie. He directed The Fantastic Moon, which you should check out if you ever get the chance. But I was very disappointed with this adaptation of a political video game franchise. I only really played the original Warcraft games from the 90s and barely remember the story, so I can't judge whether or not the film is a faithful adaptation of the lore, which many say it is. I can only judge it according to its merits as a motion picture, and sadly this means that the script is all over the place, the CGI is overused, and simply can't replace traditional special effects, and the whole experience felt insultingly soulless. A big fan of the games might find comfort in the familiar locations and characters. Most other viewers will face just another empty blockbuster with big effects and little emotion. I believe that's all for now, Review Brought, as the sirens of sleep are calling in, and I must obey. Thank you once more for the shout-out, and know that you shall henceforth be considered a friend of the Epic Club blog. I actually enjoyed writing the VORW show much more than I'd anticipated, and shall attempt to do so more in the future, if you'll have me. Best regards from Optilouise. So thank you for writing Optilouise, and I've seen advertisements for for that program, the Warcraft one. But it's, I haven't felt any urge to see it myself, honestly. But it's very interesting. On to the next, folks. And thank you very much for your nice letter. The next person writes, Dear John, I'm writing to you over a very large lamb korma curry, which I was forced to eat after having to choose between the curry and the alternative, the worst Hungry Jack's chain in Australia, localized as Burger King in the USA. If I were you, I would rate it no higher than a 5.5 in regards to this broadcast question, The most recent film I saw wasn't unfortunately the new X-Men movie, X-Men Apocalypse. I say unfortunately because, much like the curry I am now eating, it was very average. In my opinion, superhero movies are far overdone, that I can't help but feel bored when watching them. I agree, superhero movies nowadays are just so overproduced, overdone. It's just nuts. They overdo it. It's just, there's so much you can do, and then they just do it, and every single one is always the same. Oh, they just destroy the whole world fighting each other, and they fight each other for 2 hours, and it just gets boring, I want to thank you for often including Nightwalk section into your broadcasts. I find it strange that I find the cars in the background of your monologues very relaxing for me to listen to. However, I'm often annoyed and irritated by the sound of cars and traffic in real life. As I live in a more dangerous part of my state, I don't think it's the best idea for me to take a night walk anytime soon. If I were still living back in the suburbs, I know I would feel much more comfortable taking it on as a hobby. I might consider taking up night riding if I ever get the chance to buy a bike. My question for you this week is, would you ever consider taking up riding as a hobby? And if so, what kind of outfit would you wear? Thanks for all the hard work you put into your channel. Regards, Liam. Well, thank you for writing, Liam. And would I ever take riding as a hobby? Well, I'm not too big of a bicyclist. I'm not too big of a bicyclist myself, though. I think it could be relaxing. I prefer walking myself, but bicycling I think could be fun. And if I went biking, what would I wear? I would wear a suit while I bike. Sometimes you see some businessmen in parts of the world where bikes are still big. You see them pedaling away, still wearing a suit. And that's exactly what I would wear. I would wear just a suit and tie while I would bike. And no difference. No difference. I mean, if I went out on the trails, say, I would wear dress pants, some flexible shoes, dress socks. I'd wear a dress shirt. And then I'd get a tie and I might tuck it into my shirt a little bit. Helmet, of course. Be safe. That's what I would wear. I'd be wearing exactly what I've always worn with the bikes. No change to that. On to the next. Hey John, I caught your message. As always, awesome job on the channel. I just viewed your ESPN Sports Center style coverage of the hot dog eating contest. That, my friend, was classic. The obese rapper was awesome as well, and you were definitely right. The conditions these guys eat under is treacherous. That is, my opinion, a talent in itself. Also, thank you for the kind words. I now have to live up to the moniker Report of the Week Energy Drink Correspondent. And those are big shoes to fill. Yeah, you were correct about those Monster Hitmen. They always had an off apple taste, almost like a Jolly Rancher that you held on to a little too long. I kid you not, I still find Monster Hitmen popping up in my garage time and time again. And truth be told, they are actually pretty decent if you mix them in with another monster and a couple cubes of ice. And yes, I do remember back you did a great review of those Monster Dub editions, which are supposedly to be a big product for Monster in moving into the hip-hop rap market. One problem, they were unable to secure rap artists that they felt would be marketable enough to be relevant for the urban youth. As you saw by the photo, I'm still stuck with 3 or 4 cases of that crap. And I kid you not, I try to give them to anyone who comes over in the house. But yes, it seems you got a hold of one of the harder monsters to find. In regards of the Peanut Butter Cup Muscle Monster. I actually left just around the time they'd gone into test concepts of that whole Muscle Monster series. They were trying to tap into the fitness culture, as you had touched on. The problem that happened was, although it tested highly in the early goings among test market drinkers with a variety of flavors that had yet to lock up exclusive deals with your main nutrition chains like GNC and Vitamin Shop type of places. Being that these places already had loads of similar protein products, the problem that occurred was they created way too many flavors and didn't have enough outlets to push them. Keep in mind, shelf space in retail is rough, extremely expensive, and extremely limited. That being said, most companies just took a hold of the basic flavors like chocolate, strawberry, coffee, and vanilla, leaving those other flavors like banana, cappuccino, vanilla whip, or bean, and of course peanut butter on the back burner. They did have another one, which I don't ever think made it past the test market, which is Cookies and Cream, which is a can that has a not for resale label on it. In all fairness, the Muscle Monsters are not that bad when you just put the odd aftertaste of all protein-based drinks that they tend to have. Once you put that back, it should be okay, he says. Also, from what I remember, shockingly, Monster went balls to the wall when they first developed them and linked up with Labrada, which, if you look them up, is a company that uses really high-grade whey isolate protein in those types of drinks. The only downfall I ever saw with the Muscle Monsters, if I had to be picky, was the price and consistency. I always felt, to my knowledge, that they were a little steep for the fitness and nutrition types, who are usually looking for the protein in high quantity, and certainly too expensive to the day-to-day energy drinker who wants value in caffeine in mass quantity. As for consistency, I'm sure you notice that the drink itself, if the drink itself sits for too long, you don't shake it well, there are the thicker clumps of protein powder left over towards the bottom of the can. But yes, either way, got your hands on really hard to find one. I actually never tried that one. The only other monsters I can think of offhand that are harder to come by are the Monster Heavy Metal. I sent you a shot of a few emails ago, which got pulled because it was considered too large in caffeine quantities and sugar. So Monster feared regulations that would affect sales, so they gave it the boot. And the other was Monster Black Ice, which, if you recall, was the first and only Monster date to get its own Slurpee, which even had its own can for a short time before getting the plug. Pulled for similar reasons, because they felt the juvenile delinquents would overfill their Slurpee cups with mass amounts of Monsters at 7-Eleven, Wawa-type places for all us New York, New Jersey guys. Before I go, I wanted to tell you that I just came back from an international franchise expo at the Jacob Javits Center today in New York City, and I feel you would absolutely love it. They had all the major vendors there, Taco Bell, McDonald's, Dunkin' Donuts, Pizza Hut, and so on. Pretty much you name them, and they're there. They had tons of test products, samplers, and seminars. I feel like you would be a kid in a candy store, and those companies would love the idea of you reviewing their new products. I've been going since the Monster days, and they just continued going over the years, as there are just so many great companies and positive people there. Any case, I'll talk to you soon. Keep punching. Well, thank you very much for that. Our latest update from the energy drink front there. And yeah, that one Monster I got is a pretty rare one. I don't even know how I found that one, but it's a shame it's not applicable anymore to be reviewed. I don't know. I don't even know if it's still good anymore. I still got it sitting here in the fridge. I haven't tried it yet. Let me see when it expires. If it's got an expiry. Check the top here. The back. I don't know if this has an expiration date on it. It's some sort of... Anyways. If you guys want, since this drink is probably never going to get reviewed, if you guys want, I can maybe read you the little thing on the back. I think it's the same little spiel for all of them, but this is the Muscle Monster Peanut Butter Cup one. I don't think it's any different than the rest, but I'll read you the little monster spiel on the back there. Monster athletes do not win by accident. It takes years of hard work and determination to be a champion. Need a little motivation to meet your personal goals? Meet your new coach in a can, Muscle Monster Energy Shake. Specially formulated with our Monster Energy Blend to help motivate you to train harder and longer, Muscle Monster also provides the fuel you need to power through your workouts. Muscle Monster's 25 grams of protein helps build lean body mass and aids in muscle recovery after a strenuous workout. Get in the game, break a sweat, break your record, break the rules with Muscle Monster Energy Shake. Pump up the beast, it says, and this is the Peanut Butter Cup one. Real odd. I wonder, you think this is expired by now? I mean, if not, I'll just, crack it open and I'll drink it up and we'll see. But, what the heck, if not, I'll just dump it out. But otherwise, I think it'd be fun to kind of, crack open a rare one. I remember watching this one video of this guy drinking a 20-year-old Crystal Pepsi, and he was drinking it, and then he started vomiting everywhere. It was just, bad with his stomach. So I want to make sure it's not that kind of reaction with me. I mean, I don't think it should be. It's about a year old now, but I suppose it would last. I don't know if you touched upon this already, and sorry if you did. I don't want to sound a bit repetitive, because I know sometimes that can be a nuisance and an annoyance. But if you could, what made I mean, do they still sell Monster Import? I remember, I think you mentioned in the last one, Monster Import was taken off the shelves. I mean, was that again because it bared a resemblance too much, to an alcoholic beverage, or is it still there and I'm just, I'm just babbling away? Because I remember Monster Import. I used to go over to the store, and it always was it was one of my favorite monsters. Honestly, it had had just that smoothness to it. You could just take a sip, you could just drink it down, and it would be real smooth, to drink. And one of my favorite monsters. I mean, if that's gone forever, that'll be one of those drinks that I lament its passing. I mean, you can still get the Uber Monster drinks at the Big Lots stores. They're still there. I don't know for how much longer. I guess they'll be depleted in one day. But, you can still get that. But I just, I noticed the, if Monster Import's gone that way too. I mean, what was about it? I thought it was a great tasting drink, so what was about it what was it, what was the problem with it? I think, wasn't that the one that came with the little monster sticker on the top? Pretty sure. Anyways, great to hear from you again, and always fun to have that little update with the energy drink world. On to the next Hello Report of the Week. Very much enjoyed your last VORW, and it was interesting to hear how long it takes for fans to send in their letters. Personally, I prefer to comment or write in after I've had the chance to listen to an entire program. Otherwise, one could end up saying something that makes no sense in relation to the content of the broadcast. Could happen anyway, but that's the chance you take. Also enjoyed the Average Day video. The attached fan art is partially inspired by your warning at the beginning. I wasn't sure what to expect. In response to your question about the last movie watched, I have to say I haven't really watched that many movies, and if I try to watch one at home, I would end up pausing it every few minutes to go do something else, and I lose all continuity and thereby ruin the mood of the film. Going to a movie theater would help, but I'm a germ-phobic, so that's out. Anyway, the last movie I watched was The Martian. Pretty good, but I enjoyed the book much more in better detail. My question for you is actually two questions, and apologies if you've already answered them before. I've listened to all your VORWs except for the first 10, because I've been listening in groups of 10 working backwards, so I may have forgotten or missed something. So, number one, when you dream, is there one stressful situation that seems to repeat over and over? If so, is it related to something you face in waking hours? Mine are tidal waves, although I've never been in one and don't live near a body of water. If this was a few weeks ago, I would have answered no, but I've started to see a theme in some dreams. I've had 2 or 3 dreams now at this point. I'm going to step outside a minute if that's alright. It's a pleasant day outside. It's a bit warm, as I said, but still nice. Only 83 outside, so it's not too bad. If you're curious what I'm wearing, by the way, I'm wearing some dark blue pants, a matching dark blue vest. It's actually a 3-piece suit set, so I got the jacket too, but I'm not wearing that right now because it's a little warm today. Pleasant, but a little warm if you have a jacket. And I got on a long-sleeve shirt. I got a wing collar on with a blue necktie and the 4-in-hand knot with that blue vest there. I'm wearing something a little nicer for a Friday. Anyways, so I have noticed a reoccurring theme in some of the dreams I've got. I've been dreaming lately that I'm stuck in prison, and I don't know why. Like I'm perhaps accused of something I didn't do, and I get tossed in the big house for it. And I want to get out, but there's no escape. I sometimes get dreams like that where I'm behind bars in a prison, and there's just, for no reason, and there's just no way out. I'm stuck there. Had a second dream about that a couple days ago. This one focused more on the prison life, but I was still incarcerated without any knowledge as to why. I was just thrown in there, So yeah, that's the type of dream I've sometimes now been repeating. And likewise, you may be... What else did you ask here? Do you enjoy swimming? Or did you as a child? And even though I live in Southern California, I never could learn. Maybe that's why my tidal wave dreams. Thanks for all the great content, and have a good evening from PS. So thank you for writing PS. And great artwork as always. In terms of swimming, I used to enjoy swimming, but after that Sunburn incident that I kind of told at the beginning of the story, that little story I told at the beginning of the VORW, should I say, I stopped, and never again did I go. That was the last time I ever entered the water, and that was, that's what I've been dealing with ever since. On to the next. Hey, Report of the Week. Thanks for answering my question vis-a-vis book recommendations. I'll check them out. Writing into your show made me realize I had never written into any show before, so hearing my letter aloud was a new and interesting experience for me. The listener question from VORW 124 was, what was the last film you saw? The last film I saw was Primer, which is an indie science fiction film about a time machine. It's not really about a time machine, but I don't know how else to describe it. I've seen it 4 or 5 times, and it's the hardest movie to understand that I'm aware of. The complexity of the film is satisfying to unravel, which I suppose is the reason why I keep going back to it. I recommend it to anyone that wishes to be challenged whilst also being entertained. I partly enjoy your content because you make your money in a strange way, and I live a little strangely too. I think you are awesome for both of these things. I'm a ghostwriter, primarily of romantic fiction. My girlfriend and I are weirdos. The VORW show is amazing. Regards from London, England, Andrew. Thank you for writing, Andrew. And, hey, at least you're doing, we're doing something that kind of pays the bills, right? You're listening to VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. Fan mail continues with our next letter. VORW question titled, Hello, Report Bro. My question for you is, have you ever considered writing a short story set in the past? And specifically thinking of stories that take place during the 1940s or 50s. I am sure you would do a good job writing about the sensibilities of that time period, specifically the fashion. Hope this question finds you well. Thank you for writing. I haven't had that thought come to mind lately. I've been working on, since I finished the other story, I've been working on Regression of Life for a little bit now. I once wrote a story set in the past. I wrote it about 7 years ago. It was set in the the early 1900s. It was a good story, but I've lost it. It was handwritten, and it's gone, sadly. It was a good one. I wish I still had it. It's a shame. My first story ever was written in, let me see. I wrote it when I was, my first real story that I wrote was written in 2002, I think. I was younger, of course, but it was, I would draw a little picture on one corner of the page, and I'd fill the rest of the page with text, and it was around 50 pages long. I'm dead serious. Around 50 pages in length, and it was this big adventure story I wrote, and it was devised into segments. There was a part 1, a part 2, and there was going to be a part 3. Part 2, which housed another about 30 or 40 pages, is gone forever. But I still have the original part 1 from 2002, or maybe even 2001 when I first started writing it. But it's all just useless, incoherent writing. I've always enjoyed writing, I guess. I remember that, early 2000s, I first started writing, and I still have that little folder that I used for it, and I even decorated it with these little tassels and everything, make it real fancy and nice. Still got it. I still do. It's my first little story ever made, even came with a dedication page and everything. You know. Okay, what do we have next? Hello, hope you are doing well and that your tooth is on the way to recovery. Yeah, thankfully the tooth is doing better, and that Oragel someone recommended me has been a lifesaver. But even without it, now I can eat just fine, and that's the good news. But I got it right here, the little bottle, just in case. A little dab of that stuff will do you, I swear. It's good stuff. Anyway, I've been listening to your VORW show for a while now. It's clear that you have a passion for shortwave, as any semi-regular watcher will know. Given this fact, I thought you'd be interested in hearing about a trailer for a forthcoming horror film about shortwave radio. I don't know how much of it, or if you enjoy, I don't know, much about it, if you even enjoy horror films at all, but I know you like shortwave, you might be interested in checking it out. Thanks for what you do, and stay well, from Andrew Oliver. The trailer was here. The film is called, quite simply, Shortwave, which is interesting. It's a film, I don't know what it's about, if it's actually about shortwave radio. I doubt it'll have a kind of plot, about totally shortwave radio, but I imagine it'll maybe try to incorporate number stations and all of that. Let me see right now. Shortwave film. Let's see what this is about. A modern and unrelentingly tense psychological thriller based on a theory of the origins of shortwave radio frequencies. Shortwave is the unnerving reminder that some stones are left best unturned. And, that's interesting, at least. Might be an interesting film to watch at some point. See a picture, they got an SDR up, they got some radio receivers in the back. It might be a fun movie to watch, I'm not gonna lie. I might watch it from a point of view and point out all the errors in it. Though we all know that shortwave radio was actually discovered by Mr. Marconi in the early 1900s. And that he's really able to revolutionize shortwave radio and broadcasting and all of that good stuff. But I think it'll be a fun movie to watch, and that might even be a film that I'll see. Alright, it might. I might be interested in watching that when it, not in theaters, but when it comes out afterwards. Maybe it'll be an interesting one. I'll have to watch that trailer more detailed and see what there is. Thank you for the suggestion, though. Hails, review brother. Excellent question this week in regards to flicks. I'm sure it'll generate a lot of good feedback and discussion. I'm psyched that you watched Falling Down. Long-time fave of mine. Not getting too pseudo-intellectual on you, as I am nothing short of an absolute film nerd. I must say I've always regarded that film as a very apt adaptation of someone failing to conform to the modern world at the time, and its consequences. Of course, the main character fails to conform due to severe rage and mental illness, causing both he and certain members of society to suffer grievously, but hell, I'm sure we all take walks outside and feel a little mad sometimes. Last flick I watched in its entirety was a great documentary called Sherpa 2015 about the ongoing situation taking place on Mount Everest. The Sherpas have essentially gone on strike due to the deplorable and dangerous conditions set upon them by Westerners, having them basically lug their gear, food, and freaking grand pianos up the mountain in extreme dangerous conditions, while their government basically offers them nothing as far as any sort of guarantee of set wages, conditions, etc. Highly recommend if you're ever so inclined. Also, another film and book I've got a feeling you dig is American Psycho. Perhaps you've been recommended this before, putting aside the extreme situations of violence. It's got some great insight into 80s suits, haircuts, fashion trends, etc. that I think you'd dig. It's got some great dry, black as a moonless night walk comedy. Anyway, sorry to drag on. Keep up the good work from B and K. Thank you for writing. And yes, American Psycho. I have seen that one back in 2014, then in 2015. Awesome movie. Another great one, and the suits in that one are great too. So very nice. This person writes, big fan of the series. Your class, thoroughness, and taste is superior to all. From Abby, she submits some fan art there, which has been featured in this program. The Legendary Review Bra, it's titled, and there's me on the right, and there's my little clone on the left, in the purple. And lastly, could you please do a review of the Monster Ultra line? It's the first sugar-calorie-free drink, which I don't find disgusting. That means I'll probably have to be a review, seeing as it's energy-free. I also know you don't like anime, but have you ever watched any of Serial Experiments Lane? You've probably at least heard of it. I haven't. I've never heard of that. He said Falling Down is great too, and the last movie I probably watched was probably Pi. Well, thank you for writing, and I've never heard of that. I have never heard of it. It's something I could look up perhaps, but I think it's interesting. I am interested in that Shortwave movie too now. I wonder what that's going to be about. But in terms of Monster Ultra, I hate to say this, but well, I've already reviewed it, and it was an energy crisis review. It was before the days of the old, nondescript drink review series. It was before that, but I reviewed it as an energy drink, and you can see the review for yourself. Just search up Monster Ultra, I think. The caffeine-free one. I did review it. I did, no worries. Now moving on to the VORW info email address. If anyone got in that one, let's see. One here. One here. Let me just check the Rep Week interview. I have a feeling I missed a letter. Let me look back, because I was unsure where to start on this one too. Hold on a second. Yeah, I thought I missed one. Here you go. Dear John, many thanks for considering the recorded question suggestion. It'll be great to hear back on that matter. The last program was a great accompaniment whilst I traveled the country this afternoon, enjoying the English countryside from my coach window. It reminded me of something you said on a previous VORW about enjoying train travel, which got me thinking, what's the most beautiful and unexpected spot you've encountered on your travels? Relating to this, what is the most beautiful or interesting building you've ever visited? Attached is an image of our Ladies' Row in York, about 1.5 miles from where I live. While it's not typically beautiful, it is incredibly interesting. It dates back to 1316 and is the oldest domestic building in the city, one of the oldest in the country. The photograph belies how truly wayward and wonky it is. And not a ridiculous question this time, but rather a request. In your average day video, it would be especially interesting to see if you had any hair product and perhaps in your pajamas. I can't really imagine you in casual wear, but I presume you don't sleep in a suit. Thanks from Paige. Well, thank you for writing. And there's the picture of the building there. Very interesting, interesting design. How it's not really that symmetrical at all. Very interesting there. Very interesting there. Thank you very much for writing. A regular writer there. And honestly, to give an answer to your questions, I'd have to go back and say Hawaii, Especially, I believe it was called Mauna Kea. I think it was called Mauna Kea. Maybe it was Mauna Loa, but I think it was this mountain in there called Mauna Kea. And we took a trip to the top of it in a tour group. And, I mean, I thought it was going to be pretty, but I didn't expect it to be absolutely breathtaking, because it was. You were high atop this mountain overlooking the Pacific Ocean during the sunset, watching this beautiful, beautiful sunset. One of the most incredible I've ever seen, truth be told. I'll include, actually, maybe it would make a good VORW picture, I'd wager. Here's a picture of the view from the top. You can see the telescopes there. Those are some telescopes in observatories. But you can see how you're just up at the top there. You're observing and overlooking the Pacific Ocean, and see the clouds below you and the sun in the far distance. And man, I just kick myself every single time I look at these pictures from Hawaii, because I didn't bring my shortwave radio with me. I mean, can you imagine how good reception would be up there? I mean, you would hear the whole world at the top of that mountain there. So little, radio interference. My God, that'd be incredible. But I wasn't thinking. I didn't think. And in terms of the most beautiful building I've ever seen, well, that's a tough one. I've seen a lot of buildings in my day. In terms of buildings, I was at this one. It's local though, so I won't be too specific. But there's this one local resort, very historic, from the 1800s, and the architecture that was it's the last of its kind, and very historical and very nice in that regard. Well, thank you very much for writing, as always. Now, on to the VORW info address. I knew I missed one there. Let's go and let's see what we got there. Hello. My girlfriend and I are Johnny-come-lately fans and are really impressed by your programs. We especially like how you stick to formats and how you enunciate the titles and introductions. Do you like to cook? Have you ever acted on stage or on film? And would you ever do an Ask.fm? Have a lot of questions. Well, I don't cook that much. I just usually order food. I acted on stage as a child, but everyone did the play back then, so that doesn't really count. I was in Tosh.0, national television, but that again was complete improv on my part. I was just, there was no script. Would I ever do an Ask.fm? Well, this is kind of like your Ask.fm. Why isn't it Ask.am or Ask.sw? Why not Ask.shortwave, not FM? To answer your most previous question, the last film I saw in its entirety was a made-for-TV movie by the famous British director Mike Leigh. It's called Who's Who, and it was first aired in 1978. Mike Leigh was a kind of experimental filmmaker. He writes them after a long period of improvised acting rehearsals. His cast members create characters, and the stories develop originally or organically in rehearsals. The results are films and plays in a capital R realist style, leaning heavily on humanist melodrama and caricature. His work can be hilarious or horrifying, it all depends on the characters. Who's Who is about a handful of lower middle class acquaintances and their pursuit of particular statuses, told with a plot driving toward an awkward dinner party of clashing values and a British patriot's neurotic hosting of a cat magazine photo shoot of his prized felines. I enjoy it. Mike Leigh is one of my favorite filmmakers, and I enjoy learning about his early work. Would you watch one of his films and talk about it on a VORW? I recommend Secrets and Lies and Happy Go Lucky. Secrets and Lies won the Golden Palm at the Cannes Film Festival, deservedly. Have a box of tissues on hand for that one. There's also a legendary TV play, Abigail's Party, from the 1970s, dark comedy about a cocktail party hosted by an eccentric housewife for a neighborhood mum whose teenager is hosting a beer-fueled bash next door. That one may be harder to find streaming. I think it may be DVD only. Anyways, this is my first fan letter to VORW. I imagine there'll be more to come. Keep up the good work, review, bro. Signed, Andy in Berkeley. Thank you for writing, Andy. And I want to check out that Shortwave film, but I think I can do something about that other one. I think I could. And lastly, for this VORW show, hello, Review Bra. I've been a long-time watcher and love your channel. Last VORW, you were saying X amount of views and 6 males. 6 males! And I laughed so hard. I've been watching for so long and felt I'd send in a fan mail. I generally listen to your VORW, put it on when I go to bed, and it'll take me about 3 listens through to get through. Since I tend to go to bed only when I'm extremely tired, but I do make it through the way and enjoy them. What are your thoughts on simulation hypotheses and other philosophical theories of the similar nature? Thanks from Molly P. Well, thank you for writing, Molly. That's our last letter there. And, simulation theory is saying that we're all in some sort of, computer simulation or video game, and that nothing is actually real, and that we're just players in this simulation. Could it be possible? It could be. No way it can be proven or otherwise. There's a chance. There's a definite chance that it could be. And do I believe in it? No, but I think there is a possible chance that it actually could be real. There's no way to prove it. There's no way to prove at all that I'm just not the only. I'm the only actual conscious person. That the rest of you all are just, just don't really exist. That you're just figments of my imagination. And you can do this. You could say the same thing. You don't know if I'm really alive, if I'm really there. Nor do I know if you are. You can just be, a simulation. How can I prove it? I can't be you. It's just accepted and understood that everyone is, an independent being and person. And that this is just life, and this is just how it is. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for you. Remember, the question for this program is, do you consider yourself to be addicted to social media? It'll be interesting to see what we all think of ourselves. I say I don't have social media, so no. But it'll be interesting to see how many people say yes, how many say no. And that'll be a fun one. Remember to write in. If you'd like to write in to us, do write to us at youtube.com. The About tab, send message. Send the contents of your message there and send it off. Or write to us at vorwinfo@gmail.com or repweekendifyouwant@gmail.com. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for you. VORW concluded. Hope you have a great day. Take care, and that's all I got. Goodbye. This is the voice of the Report of the Week, signing off.